Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. I got a cool little video today. I talked about this a little bit on the pilot jam last night, but today I'm just gonna walk you through the widget that I'm gonna say facilitated getting created for the radio. We'll put it that way. So in case you're wondering about it, I'll give you a quick little screen grab and let you see what it looks like. So this is it. It's the speedometer widget, and I'm gonna give you guys a caveat right off the bat. Before you go any further, you have to be able to get telemetry data on your radio. So you do need some telemetry sensors, and I'll describe those in a few minutes, but you do need to get those sensors on your radio. So it'll work with Betaflight, it'll work with Crossfire, any way that you can get the sensor data onto your radio, it'll work. Now I've done some videos showing how I set up a Crossfire using a Maytech Crossfire to PWM converter board, and that board does deliver the telemetry that you need. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to just take I'm going to disconnect the radio from my computer real quick, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So when I click on model and I press page left, that will bring me to my telemetry screen, and you see all these sensors that are listed right there. Those are the sensors that I'm talking about. Now you don't need all of them for this to work. You only need that one, the G speed, so ground speed, and then you need altitude, and that's it. So now the script relies on G speed and altitude, and also G speed plus and altitude plus. And what that does is locks, if you look on the screen right there where it says top speed, that's the G speed plus. And then the altimeter relies on alt plus for the top altitude. So the idea is to get that screenshot on this radio. That's what we're going to learn about today. Links are in the description where you can download these widgets. I also need to put a caveat that this is for color radios and it works on Edge. It might work on OpenTX, but I don't have any OpenTX anymore, so I was unable to test it, but it probably will. There's nothing really that fancy about the script itself. So it probably will work on OpenTX. The last thing I have to do is give credit where credit is due. I asked for some help from the Edge guys, and Jim or Robert and Risto both stood up and helped me out. They did most of the work. I just kind of facilitated and made a few minor cosmetic adjustments, and then I'm of course doing the video and hosting it. So the credit for the logic belongs with Robert and Risto. I take no credit for the logic. I just did a little bit of, coordination work. We'll call it coordination work. So with that out of the way, I'm going to set that aside, and let's get started. Let's get into it. I'm going to show you how this works. It's pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to switch over to a bigger screen so we can see everything that's going on. So I've got my radio and I've got a USB connection. I'm going to plug the USB connection into the radio on the top. And when I do that, the radio is going to prompt me for USB or joystick, and we want to select USB. So we'll do that first. We'll just select that. Okay, that's the first job. Now the radio is ready to get some data. The next thing you'll do is open up your browser, and again, the link is in the description, so you don't have to type this out. It's in there. You just click on it. But it is on RCVideoReviews.com. That's where I'm hosting it. And I do have a valid HTTPS certificate, so you can be sure that you're getting the right stuff by looking at the little lock. But anyway, put that URL in your browser and just hit return, and you should see it download pretty quickly. It's a very small file, and it's right there. You see widgets.zip. So I'm going to open that folder, and you can see that it creates a folder called widgets. So we're done with the browser, and the next thing we want to do is take this widgets folder, and all you have to do is copy it. You notice this one on the left hand side is the root of my SD card. Pay very close attention. You put it in the right spot. So the SD card that I use on this radio is called Church, and this is the folder. So all you have to do is just drag this folder over here and let it go. Just let it go. Let it rip. And it'll create the directories it needs. So when you look in this folder now, you'll see a directory called Altitude. That's one of the ones it added, and it added Speedo. And then it also added a little readme.txt if you want to check that out. I put in some instructions on how it works, and where the governance on it. And just for the record, my idea is that I'm giving this to the Edge team, so they can do whatever they want with it. And any regarding software licenses, it's subject to the Edge software license. So that's all. So it's theirs. I'm giving it to them. They can do whatever they want with it. So a little information about that, a little bit of accreditation where credit is due, and then some instructions on how to install it. So I've done this a lot, so I didn't back up my SD card first, but I already have a backup. So There you go. Unzip the archive, drag the widgets folder to the root of your SD card, just like I showed you. And then there's a little bit of information on how to use it, but we're going to cover that in a video today. So that's it. So we're installed, and now we're ready to actually do some work. So I'm going to close these windows because we no longer need them, and I'm going to switch back to the big camera. So on the big camera, we can disconnect the USB, and now it's time just to have a little fun. So remember what I told you guys. You have to have telemetry. If you don't have this telemetry, that's another video for another day, right? You have to have this telemetry, and any device that will give you this telemetry, including iNav or Betaflight. See, the trick is it works off the sensor. It works off the sensor name. So that's the trick, and that's the way these things work in Lua these days. So it looks for GSPD. And that's what it's looking for. So if you have GSPD, and that's a normal sensor for EdgeTX, then it should work. Okay. Okay. So that's it. Just remember, you got to have the sensors, and that's out of the scope of this video. You got to do that via telemetry, via either iNav, Betaflight, or Crossfire, however you get it there, but you got to have the sensors. If you don't have that, it doesn't work. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we're going to go back to our main screen, and we'll press the Tele button down here on the bottom left. So press Tele, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can get a good look at the screen. We're not too worried about the buttons anymore. I'll just focus on the navigation buttons because that's all we're really going to use here. Okay, so here's our screen. Notice right now I've only got page 1 and page 2. This is the old one. And by the way, I left this on here to show you. You don't need the widgets to do this. There are speed telemetry sensors that you can add as widgets, and you can lay them out like this. But the reason I did the one that I'm doing is because it's a full screen and the text is really big. So while you're flying, you can just pop it up and, you know, get a good look at the numbers. They'll be right there real big in front of your face. So that's why I did that. But I did want to point that out. You don't have to go through all this if you don't want to. But if you would like to have that big text, that's what this is about. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll hit telemetry, and we're going to add, you see this little plus right here? We're going to add a main view. That's what that's called. We'll add a main view. So we'll press page right, and we get the plus screen right there. So next thing we'll do is touch the screen that adds a main view. And the first thing we'll do is under the layout, we're going to change it to full screen. These were intended to be designed to be used in full screen. I may do some rows that allow you to intermix stuff. I may do that. I'm still thinking about it, but we'll see. For today, it's just full screen. And then the next thing you want to do is turn off all this other stuff. Turn off the top bar, turn off trims, turn off sliders, turn off flight mode. You want all that stuff turned off. All right, it's that simple. So it's real clean, easy to do. Then the next thing you do is hit Setup Widgets, and you long press the screen, hit Select Widget, and what will happen when you've installed this correctly, if you scroll, you'll see Altitude right there, that's the one, and Speed. We'll do Speed first, so I'll just add that one. And notice you can change the color. So if you want to change the color, you can do that. So let's say, I don't know, we'll do Max Blue, and we'll do Max green. That gives you teal, and I think max red gives you white. So we could do that, or let's not do that. Let's do red. We'll do red. We'll take this out. We'll take the green out, and we'll do max red. So there we go. We have red, and for the background color, let's just do white. Well, white's a nice, clean, easy background color. So there you go. So we have red text and white color or white background. And when you click anywhere outside the dialog, that's all you got to do is click outside the dialog. There you go. So now you've got it. Now I can't show you the telemetry simulator in Companion. Doesn't work right now. I tried. It doesn't work. So if it did, I could show you the speeds. Alternatively, I could power up an airplane and have my kid run around in the yard with it. But anyway, you get the idea. This does work. And now notice there's miles per hour here. The way you change that is you go into your, oh wait, so let's press return and return. And there we go. So now we press page right. Now we've got our full page widget. Okay. Now, if you want to change miles per hour to kilometers per hour, you press your model button and press page left. And when you press page left, you get to the telemetry sensors. Did I pass it? I did. So you go down to G speed right here, and you select G speed, and you hit edit on that. and you can change your unit of measure right here from miles per hour to, say, kilometers. Now, it will not do feet per second. The label, I didn't do the labeling. We didn't do the labeling for all these different variables. We only did miles per hour and kilometers per hour. So you can select either one, miles per hour, kilometers per hour. And when you do that, say we select kilometers per hour, the radio will handle the conversion as far as the numerics go. But on the widget, now we have kilometers per hour there. So that's that one. Okay, I'm going to check comments before I go any further real quick. I just need to take a look at comments real fast. Doesn't look like there are any comments related to this. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the altimeter screen. So that'll be the next one we'll do is altimeter, and it works the same exact way. We simply press the tele button down here on the bottom, and we're going to click on page right to add a screen. So we'll just click on page right and we'll add a main view. And now we have to change the view to full screen, or the layout to full screen. So we'll click on layout and click full screen, and same deal. Let's turn off all the stuff. We're not reacting. There we go. Oops. So turn everything off. There we go. And now hit setup widgets, and you get presented with a blank screen. You can barely see there's a dotted line right there. That's the cursor. So that's the widget we're working in. Press the screen. You get the select widget option. Click that. And we'll go down and we'll pick altitude. So altitude is next. And let's say on the altitude color, we'll leave that blue, or I don't know, maybe green. Maybe green would be good. Let's do green. So we'll take that down to the minimum. We'll take the green up to the maximum, and we'll take the red. We'll leave the red down low. And then for the background color, we'll do, we'll do max, and then max, and then max. So now we've got green and white as our colors on this one, and we hit escape, and there you go. We've got altitude. We'll hit return and return. Now I can page right, and we've got our altitude screen. So the way this will read on your plane is altitude. This one is your real-time altitude. That's what the GPS is reading right now and reporting back to your radio via telemetry. On this one, it's the max altitude. So this number will fluctuate a lot less. It'll only report the maximum number you've attained. So what's really cool about this is if you want to see how fast your plane is, you can get out there and gun it, and it'll measure. And this number, this value gets saved. So you at the end of your flight, you just land the plane and look down, and you can see your number, and you can screenshot it. So you can even press, like on my radio, I have T5 down as screenshot. So if I do a record, I can press T5 down, and that grabs a copy of that and puts it in my card for me. So I have it. And then one other thing I'll point out is I added satellites down here at the bottom. So sats, and that's just to show you if you're watching this screen that you do have satellites. So if you have 0 here, these numbers shouldn't update, but you need to have satellites. And as long as you have satellite connection down here, 3 or 4, whatever, you'll see updates. You'll get the telemetry and you'll see the updates. So that's it. That's the widget. One thing I do got to give you a caveat about the altitude. Okay, I did not figure out how to do the units of measure for altitude, so you're stuck with feet. Now that said, if you go into the model and go into your telemetry and find altitude, which is down here at the bottom, and you put it on alt and hit edit. Oh, I just deleted it, didn't I? I did. I just deleted it. Okay. We'll have to do G speed. I just deleted it on accident. So we'll do G speed. And if I hit edit on this and I change, imagine this is the altitude sensor. Okay. If I change this to something else like meters or feet per second or whatever, that numeric value will be shown on the widget. Okay. It'll be shown on the widget, but the label will remain feet. If you want to go into the Lua script, which is in, it's just plain text, you can find it and search for feet and change it to meters or whatever. You can do that. All right. It's very easy to change. Just go in there. It's a text file, and change where it says FT to M or, KM or MS or whatever, whatever unit is. Unfortunately, I did not figure out how to automatically change that. I'll work on it. Maybe there'll be a Rev 2, but for now, the feet is hard-coded. That's the only caveat on this, but the speed will change depending on the value you select for your sensor on your telemetry screen. So that's it. That's the video. And now you know how to do a speedometer widget. It's free. It's easy. The only thing you need to do is have telemetry, and it works with your telemetry sensors. So real simple stuff, and I think very cool. It's easy to do, and it gives us some new functionality of the radio, right? So now you're out flying around, and you see yourself, while you're flying, if you want to glance down real quick and just kind of look at your speed, like if you're doing a high-speed pass with your jet and you want to glance down, you can see it real clear. And keep in mind, these were designed to work on a full screen widget, but just by chance, by pure dumb luck, I was able to show, if you do the 4-line setup, well, I'll just do it. Rather than talk about it, let's just do it. So I'm going to do the screen layout, and I'm going to pick a 1x4 instead. So if I do 1x4 and then select widgets, we can go down to speed. And what happens is your current speed will be shown. I'm going to leave it black. And then on this one, I'll do select widget, and we'll do altitude, and I'm going to leave it black the way it comes. And then on the setup, we have to take all this other stuff off. It was just pure dumb luck that it worked out this way. So there we go. We take that off. And it just so happens that the top speed or the current speed and the current altitude, if you use the 4x, they show up actually lined up correctly. Pure dumb luck. It will work that way too, by the way. You don't see your max numbers, but you will see your 2. So if you want to do a setup like that, of course you can do that as well. So just throwing that out there, kind of pure dumb luck. And this is what I was talking about. I've been thinking about making a widget to just speed, just alt, just speed max, and just alt max or altitude max. So I've been thinking about doing that as well. That way you could have some flexibility in how you arrange your stuff. So anyway, more to come on that. It depends on if there's interest. If there's a lot of interest and people download it and, you know, I see hits on the file, then maybe I'll consider doing it. But if not, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. All right, I'm going to check questions real quick, and then we're going to wrap this up. Brian Chambers gave a thumbs up. Thanks, Brian. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper says, finally made it. Glad you can make it, my friend. Clyde Kaler says, are videos available for setting up a Spectrum AR630, including AS3X and safe? Is it required to initialize 630 with a Spectrum? Sorry, buddy, I don't do Spectrum stuff, man. It's just not, I don't use Spectrum, so I can't really answer that. What I can do is suggest you hop on our Discord, because we do have Spectrum users on our Discord, and they can help you out. So if you want to get some information about, you know, how the TX16s works with Spectrum, we have people that can help you, but it's not my wheelhouse, and I just don't, you know, I have no knowledge on it, so I can't, there's nothing I can share. He says, evening, John. And Brian says, this will be a nice additive for my slope soaring. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, hey, since you're on that, Anthony, let me show you real quick. I did do some logic too, and I'll just go ahead and show you guys the logic real fast. So on my logic, I added a couple of things that will help with some noise, with some audible feedback. So the idea on this is simply to say, I used L8 and L9 as a combined, you know, a matching, you know, so there's an and statement right here that says and L8. So what this says, L8 goes on if the altitude is above 199, so basically 200 feet. If you're above 200 feet, but below 300 feet, which means 299. So this means if you're between 200 and 299 feet, L9 goes on. And then if L9 goes on, what'll happen is you'll get this cheap sound every 5 seconds. I called it last night in the pilot jam. I said it's kind of like a poor man's variometer, but it's not really a variometer. It's more of an altitude achievement alert. so if you're in that range of what was it, 200 to 300 feet, you'll get a cheap, you know, cheap every 5 seconds. And then the next logic I did was the same thing. And I said, if you're between 300 and 399 feet, then L12 goes on, and you get the same warning. It just comes faster. It comes every 3 seconds instead. And then the last one is if you're above 400. So you see how this says, if the altitude is above 400, and the reason you don't see the sensors, because I deleted the sensor in the demo here. So this would normally say altitude, ALT. All right, that's what it normally say there. But I deleted it, so that's why it's gone. Anyway, if the altitude is greater than 399 feet, then you get a constant alarm that every 1 second it says cheap, 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 cheap. So you kind of get, it's not really a variometer, but it is kind of a warning mechanism based on altitude. And then the other thing I did to work with speed is I did some logic that says for stickies, if SA is up, but I need to add SA to the rest of these, but I did this to do a condition where I only get these call outs if the SA switches in the up position. If it's not in the up position, these call outs don't happen. But anyway, what will happen is if we exceed 35 kilometers per hour, then L16 is triggered, and that becomes a sticky. So when the sticky occurs, L16 goes on, the sticky is activated. That means L20 goes on. And then when L20 hits, we get a warning that says play value of the ground speed. So basically what happens is Once we exceed 35 kilometers per hour, the radio will say 37 kilometers per hour, and that's it. For the rest of the flight, it won't say anything else. Now, here's another one that says once you hit over 40, it'll tell us we hit something over 40 one time, and then same thing for 45. So the idea was, rather than have alerts that say 35, 37, 32, 34, I didn't want that. Just tell me, once I hit 35 that I did it. Same thing with 45, just tell me one time that I hit 45 miles an hour, and that's good enough. So just logic, just some exercises in logic that you could do. And like I said, I need to add some AND switches so that I can use my SA switch to turn those off if I want as well. So there's some logic to kind of go with those scripts that we just made to help, make the experience even more meaningful and give you more information while you're flying. All right, so let's see. This will be nice. And then Camille Maranatha. I guess that's right. Camille Maranatha says thumbs up to you, my friend. And 049 says, hey John, greetings from Turkey. Well, greetings from Florida. Thanks for saying hello. Thanks for stopping in and saying hello. All right, guys. Well, hey, if you like this kind of content, I would appreciate a thumbs up. That really helps a lot. Thumbs up just helps. And then if you could leave a comment after the video, that also helps. It helps with placement, And of course, if you like this kind of material, make sure you hit that subscribe button down there and a notification bell so you know when new videos hit the channel. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for joining me on this little look at the speedometer and altimeter widgets. Go out and fly something. Go fly. Have fun.